I know that there's been a lot of changes in healthcare post, you called COVID, it's a COVID hangover, right? That's what we're all struggling with. And, post the pandemic, there's been some changes in healthcare. Medical aids have seen shifting in plans because reprioritization of customers. But that obviously extends into healthcare and further into medical manufacturing. What significant changes have you seen on your side in the changes in healthcare? And a question I'll put to all the panel members, but I think starting with yourself, have you seen any significant changes in healthcare and specifically medical manufacturing?
So I think there's a lot of interest. Perhaps that interest was not as high as it is now pre the pandemic. And there's a lot of efforts, whether it is from the likes of Summit or the MDMSA as industry bodies or associations, to ensure that we can do certain things from a South African context, from a continental context. From a country perspective as well, there's a lot that is happening. The DTIC has championed a strategy that is intended to grow manufacturing of medical products in South Africa. And then, of course, we have the match, and depending on where you look at it, and I use the term lightly, the NHI, whether you dread it or not, there's also been that. And that has been a long time coming. If we look at it, the discussions around NHI, for instance, have been around pre-COVID, and I think there has been some acceleration over the years. So what we have found certainly is that there is interest from a government perspective to be able to do something that responds to these changes. And this is not just a South African phenomenon. Continentally, that has been the case, and I think that it is not saying it's not a light matter when we say that when COVID hit, a lot of us sat down and thought, hang on, what does this mean for me? If we get a COVID 2.0, what does this mean for me? So I think even from an African perspective, there has been also strategies that are now championing what are we going to do differently around manufacturing medical products. So again, from a high level, strategic level, there is that realization and that interest, and that's what we are wanting to capitalize on. For the reasons that we believe that from a Gauteng perspective, we are well located to champion this type of production for the value proposition that we bring to the table, proximity to the airport, ability to develop infrastructure that is responsive to the needs of the sector. Each sector is nuanced, and the medical, pharma, health cluster is not different. So we delve into what are those different areas and how do we put them together so that we can make it competitive. You will find that in the Western Cape, a similar approach is being done. So depending on where you will look, you will see that Western Cape as well is championing something similar. But our argument is that we're not in competition. We are a country, and that we should be able to collaborate and, if you will, competitively, positively compete with one another. Gauteng can offer something, Western Cape can offer another. But at the end of the day, all of these things must come together to position South Africa as a manufacturer of products in this cluster. So that is where we're at, and we truly believe that it can be done, but it starts with conversations such as these, and that's why we're here today to have these discussions, unpack. No doubt that there are challenges, but what do we do to turn around those challenges and ensure that it becomes competitive and that we can deliver on that particular realization, whether it is simply a hospital gown or gloves. I mean, it's the small things, but if you look at them, you realize that half of them are, if not more, are imported out of China. I mean, we had discussions with Netcare a while ago, and it was interesting to see that, the basic things, your gloves, sometimes it is even the hospital gown itself, and depending on price point can be brought in from another country. So whilst we're looking at exports, we're also saying, what can we do locally? And those are some of the things that we have seen, that stakeholders are more interested now and perhaps more open to see how we can champion this and move this along.